Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Mayday Network. I'm Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginsky and the one and only Jeff Jarvis for Breaking the News. We are back after many weeks away.
Yes.
For good reason, though, because we're taking a little break. But so glad to be back. So glad to see the both of you, all of us together here on this Friday morning. We have a lot to talk about. There was a little bit of a wannabe king speech last night, and some things to talk about in that regard, but some other stuff happening in the media space as well that I think deserve praise and also not praise. So I'll let you guys start because I know you guys got some feelings. Maybe
Well,
we'll
we should start with the
night.
piece you wrote about the speech and
Oh,
responsible behavior.
I do want to just acknowledge something that people are chatting about in the chat. I know last night we said we were not going to go live. We're going to pre-record because I had somewhere to be. My somewhere to be got canceled, so we are in fact live, folks.
Yeah, we are live.
We are live, so we can't see
my
your chat.
11:09.
Much like Mitch McConnell, Michelle just showed a proof of life on her phone. But also, yes, we can hear you. We can see you. We are live and we see your chat. So good to have everybody here. Friends, I have to give the media credit because a lot of them learned their lesson. They did not run Donald Trump's speech live yesterday. ABC did not, NBC did not, CNN did not, MS did not.
MS did for a while. MS disappointed me. They did for a while, and I was and I wish they had not done that, but they did break off.
They did. Okay. Well, then
and CBS did, but started oddly late into it.
Right, which I guess wanted them. So what's fascinating to me is you typically, I assume the Trump White House does this, but maybe not. I know when I worked at Fox and we were covering live speeches, we would get an advance copy of the speech, right? Like whatever they loaded in the prompter, they would give to us and we would get it.
Or you can get it from Kalshi, but that's another story.
Or you get it from Kalshi.
Right. I was going to say, I was like, have we talked to the teleprompter?
Yeah, the teleprompter guy could have just for the low price of $10,000 could have given it to us.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the Trump White House still does this, but the reality is you pretty much could have foreseen what he was going to say. I found a few things fascinating. One is he did not say the 2020 election was stolen. Two is he did not go after Warnock and Ossoff for being illegitimate senators, which we were led to believe that he would. And three, and this is the part that I think we should take away from this before we get to the coverage of it, is that every single piece of evidence that he produced to allegedly back up what he was saying did not back up what he was saying, but it did back up what I wrote about.
Yeah.
And what everybody else has been talking about, which is that, yes, indeed, Russia interfered in the 2016 and 2020 elections. China thought about doing it, but didn't really do it. Venezuela, the intelligence community determined didn't even have the capability to interfere in its own election. Never mind in this election, or in this country's election. And, Iran tried to meddle, but the point is they did not infiltrate any of our voting machines. They did not do anything to change one vote. And I agree. I'm going to say something that I think might be shocking. I agree with Donald Trump. It is indeed concerning that our election system has vulnerabilities that hostile foreign powers can penetrate. Where I don't agree with Donald Trump is that he has done everything possible to allow them to do that by eradicating all the safeguards that have been put in place to prevent that from happening, including, getting rid of cybersecurity agencies and State Department agencies and other agencies that were firing people whose job it was to prevent foreign interference. So, but I think there's something much more troubling about the speech, and I don't want people to think of him as a buffoon, because this is a proactive speech, not a reactive speech. And I think that's something that's important for people to note. It is the speech of a man who's going to do everything possible to try to, basically screw us going forward for the election.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he staged a violent insurrection to overthrow an election before our very eyes. We saw it happen. Not only does he tell us it kind of like didn't happen, but all the people who were arrested and punished for that, he pardoned all of them to signal, hey, you're my people and help me do this again, please, because you will be rewarded. Why would this be any different? Just because people aren't showing up with tiki torches and nooses and zip ties doesn't mean that it's not happening. In fact, I think in this particular instance, I think that, Trump and his administration are just banking on the fact that most Americans just read the headline. They don't read the rest of the story. And this is no different because, as Julie just pointed out, in the fine print of the actual, evidence is nothing what he was trying to prove.
Right.
Not at all.
So I'll disagree with the nuance, Julie. He is a buffoon. He's a useful buffoon. And it is the people behind him who put him out there. Mm-hmm. And so I think we have two major stories going on that the media continue to miss. His absolute insanity and inanity. And they keep on justifying his existence as a president of the United States when he is a complete raving lunatic. Right. And then second is the fact that, yes, you're absolutely right. What's happening is the quiet insurrection. Mm-hmm. It is an insurrection. It is an attempt to take over the democracy, and that's what he's trying to do. As far as the media coverage, so I was about to start ranting, Julie, about how no one in their right mind or with any journalistic ethics should have put the speech on live. And then I read your piece in Salty Politics, and I just linked to it and said, you said it better and faster than I could have said it. I think the example for how it should have been handled was this morning on Steph Rule's show. And she did it just at the beginning. She didn't do the whole speech, but she aired a piece of tape. Here's what he said. Here are all the facts and all the context to show how absolute bullshit it is. Tape, wrong. Tape, wrong. Tape, wrong. That's what I wish had been done last night. Instead, CNN, to their credit, and I'm amazed at maybe the last moment of CNN chutzpah we see, they didn't air it, and they said straight out, because we know the reputation of what he does. Tony DeCopel, well, we'll get to him in a second. Let me hold off on Tony. MS Now, I kept waiting for them to say what their policy was going to be. I didn't hear it watching earlier shows. I must have just missed it. And I was very disappointed that they went live to it. They did break away, but they didn't then, they had commentary about it rather than giving the audience the tools that we needed to say, here's absolutely everything he said and here's how wrong it was. Instead, they have Senator Warner on forever blathering on about it. NBC and ABC, Carr is going to go after him, but I think this is the best thing that could happen is that they avoided it. Fox did what Fox did. Then we get
but let's talk about what Fox did.
Let's talk. Yeah, right. Because Fox and DeCopel are now interesting. Yes.
I just want to be very clear about what Fox did. In the lead up to the speech, Fox did not mention the speech. Mm-hmm. They took the speech live, and then they immediately moved on to the wildfires or some other news that was not relevant to this. Fox today, from my understanding, is that they have not mentioned the speech. The reason for that is very clear. They have over
700 million reasons
why they didn't do this. Because the last time they took Donald Trump's election denialism seriously, it cost the Murdochs almost $1 billion. And I don't think they want to go down this road again. I don't think they want to be complicit in going down this road again. And I think that that was probably the thinking for a lot of these other places, is to say that we don't want to ever risk. Who knows? I mean, he could have accused Dominion again. Although Dominion is not owned by Republicans, but he could have accused any of us, right? The level of libel that this man is capable of and defamation that he's capable of is so huge that I think a lot of these places don't want to risk having happen to them what happened to Fox, what happened to all these other right-wing networks that aired all of his lies, which is the only way to get through to these people. You have to sue them. You have to sue them within an inch of their lives. And not only did Fox lose almost over $700 million, but Rupert Murdoch was personally incredibly embarrassed. A lot of their anchors were incredibly embarrassed, from Hannity to, all of them, right? Tucker at the time. And so I think this obsession that he's got with the 2020 election is his obsession, but I don't think media is going down this road precisely because there's over 700 million reasons that they don't go down this road.
But the obsession with future elections is shared on his.
Well, that is shared.
Yeah. And so this is a useful buffoon moment again, where they use his obsession to then in turn go after the rest.
Yeah.
So then Tony DeCopel, he started off, and I watched the beginning, and he said, well, we're not going to air it. Here's why, because he's been known to tell untruths about the stuff. I thought, wow, what happened?
I have that clip.
Okay, good. But then it changed.
Because in a few moments, President Trump will be giving a speech. It's a speech expected to address safety and security of American elections, a topic, of course, that the president has talked a lot about for years now, at times almost constantly. And honestly, much of what the president has said on this topic has been false. Most notably, of course, the claim that he won the 2020 election when, of course, he did not. Because of this, there is an argument that it's irresponsible to air the president's speech tonight. But this speech will be made, it will be news, and it's our job to cover the news. And so we are. My CBS News colleagues and I are reporting tonight along with you to make sense of it as you will, and we will do it together. What it means for the country, what is true, and what is not.
Weird, actually. It's totally expected that, somebody like Tony DeCopel or anyone really over at CBS acts really as stenographers or regurgitators of information, or moderators of a debate or something. It seemed to me, just even after the fact, and I have some more clips of Tony DeCopel from last night, that he didn't really feel that it was his responsibility to put any of this into context.
It was weird because I went back and forth. I didn't really watch the speech per se. I mean, I saw it later because I was going among all these channels trying to figure out what they were all doing. And so DeCopel and Major Garrett were talking for quite a while about it. And then suddenly they did go live to it about 5 minutes in and stayed live with it. And then this morning, Julie sent me something or last night sent me something I had not seen, which was it showed his true stripes when he did what? You want to tell?
Well, he brought on John Solomon, who is one of Trump's biggest enablers, completely insane, and a purveyor of lies, and
an architect of the lies in this.
An architect of the lies, and that is who.
I have this clip as well. If you'd like to, let's throw this up. I won't play the whole thing; it's a little long, but we get the point.
He is an advisor to conservative journalist John Solomon. He is an advisor to the president, to President Trump. He's leading a government transparency task force for the White House. He's also the man behind a lot of the research and the reporting that the president cited as true in this speech tonight. John, you heard the president. You also heard the senator say none of it is true or not new or not significant. And others have said that as well. Your response?
Well, listen, I talked to the intelligence chiefs in the last few days as we got prepared for this. It's very important to understand, the president said this tonight, every intelligence chief vetted this speech. They made sure it was accurate. They told me they had never been briefed on the size of the breaches, the 230 million Americans, the 220 million Americans whose data was stolen, that they consider it a security breach. How many times on your network have you reported that 5 countries are capable of hacking our election machines? When is the last time you reported that Venezuela actually succeeded in breaching a machine which has implications for our future security? You haven't, because it was never made public. It has not been made to Congress. It's not been told to the president in the past. We checked the presidential daily brief. The president was given this information. Now we have a chance to fix a glass chin of election security, make the 26th election more secure than the last 3.
John, did the president in his...
I want to just say something because I don't want to listen to this bullshit anymore. A couple of things. One is John Solomon, this was never, ever talked about, was one of the principal media architects of the conspiracy culture that made Trump's election denialism possible. He helped manufacture and legitimize this broader narrative that Trump's opponents, the intelligence community, and the election system were engaged in a continuing conspiracy against him after the 2020 election. I just want to talk about that. He has Just the News, which is his outlet. To call him a journalist is an insult to journalists. but his bullshit propaganda outlet. And he gave sustained attention to the irregularities that he called, which did not exist, the audits, the voting machines, government quote unquote cover-ups. That's who John Solomon is. So I don't want to waste more time on him. I do want to say one more thing though, because this does not bear repeating. This bears repeating over and over and over again. This alleged cover-up from the intelligence community on the 2020 election was, let's remember who the president was during the 2020 election and the aftermath of the 2020 election. It was not Barack Obama. It was not Joe Biden. It was Donald Trump. So first of all, we are here and we are being asked to believe that Barack Obama in 2016 was so corrupt with his burn bags that he allowed Donald Trump to become president. Joe Biden was so corrupt in 2024 that he allowed Donald Trump to become president.
Yeah, he didn't fix it for himself.
But Donald Trump was so incompetent and so not corrupt in 2020 that somehow, despite him being president, the Democrats were able to get into the intelligence community to elect Joe Biden and to defeat him. Like, think about what he's asking us to believe. And the second thing I want to talk about is he said that this was not given to him in the president's daily brief, that this information was being held from him by the intelligence community, that he was completely left in the dark about all of these irregularities, foreign interference going on. Friends, the person who puts together the president's daily brief, in fact, it is their probably single biggest job responsibility, is the director of national intelligence. In 2020, when this alleged conspiracy was happening, the director of national intelligence was a man named John Ratcliffe, a Trump appointee. Who is John Ratcliffe today? The head of the CIA under Donald Trump. So if John Ratcliffe was so corrupt that he kept this information from Donald Trump, why the hell is John Ratcliffe now in charge of the Central Intelligence Agency? This is what we are being told to swallow as though it is gospel. I mean, are you effing kidding me?
You know, if anyone is reading Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan's book, they talk about the decision, or at least the discussion, to appoint John Ratcliffe to run the CIA. And part of that agreement was, yes, it should be him as long as he, agrees to shred it, and it being the CIA. So, like, again, like, none of these people are here to serve the American public. None of these people are here to protect our elections or our national security or any of this. They are there specifically to destroy it. And I mean, here's the other thing with all of this too. As I was watching John Solomon on that, on the lawn of the White House, talking to Tony Dokoupil, there's a familiar scene that broadcast news sets up for us, right? They put the cameras and the lighting and everything, and they set everybody in the same spot. They always do, year after year after year. And they have an anchor or somebody like Tony Dokoupil who is seasoned and trained to, as a TV anchor or journalist, to modulate his voice in a way that kind of lulls people into implicit trust into whatever it is that's being said. And the lighting, tells the audience, trust us. And that is another reason why I'm just like watching this just as like a visual person, just being like, of course people are believing all of this, or maybe they're not. But if you were just to turn your television on as an average person watching any of this, it seems legit. It all seems legit. And I guess that's the point, right? From their perspective, and Barry Weiss's. And that's why I just want to play this clip really quick, because this is Von Hilliard off camera. Asking John Solomon some questions, and I think it's worth us watching.
We're not telling the president.
Did you acknowledge that there were no votes changed in 2020?
All I can acknowledge is what the intelligence shows, right? I only know the intelligence community has zero evidence that someone has flipped, that a foreign power flipped a vote in 2020, 22, or 24.
And you have you're able to acknowledge.
We're not through all the documents.
You're able to acknowledge that Venezuela has not tampered with voting machines in the United States.
No, the intelligence is very clear. They did it on their own machines. Why is it important that they did it on their machines? Their machine protocols are the same as America. Why? Because for a long time they did exactly
And so the 2020 election was in fact the results as we, the American public.
I'm still researching, so let me. This is the first.
But there's no intelligence.
Not
You've
yet.
been on
Guys,
this.
he's gotta go. So
There is
he's
no
gotta go.
intelligence.
There
that
it
the
is.
election would have said that Donald Trump was
The president
president.
said that tonight.
He's
So
gotta
there's
go.
no intelligence, he says, not yet.
Okay, not yet, because that means that they will create some. But more relevantly, friends, that's not what it says about Venezuela. What it says about Venezuela is Venezuela was so incompetent that they couldn't even try to steal their own election, never mind anybody else's. So just to be very clear about what is actually being said here.
My wife was surprised that Maduro wasn't dragged out in chains last night. to
Yeah.
say, I did it.
Yeah.
Well, we all were, right?
No.
Because
Yep.
if I were Maduro, I'd say whatever the hell I needed to say
sure.
to get the club fed treatment, right? He's at the same prison where Jeffrey Epstein was held. I mean, that place is a hellhole of
the
worst
Manhattan
kind.
Corrections.
Yeah, Metropolitan Corrections.
Sorry, yeah.
Detention Center, whatever it's called, the MDC or the MCC or something.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's in Brooklyn. It's awful. My husband has been there. He said it is like hell. He hasn't been there as a prisoner. He's been there as a lawyer. Just to clarify, my husband has visited there as an attorney, and he
You
said
were
it-
holding him. Yeah.
yeah, it says that it's hell. Like he said, it is
Yeah.
just hell on earth.
Yeah.
So if I were Maduro, I would be like, sure, yeah, we stole the election. Now send me down to where Ghislaine Maxwell's hanging out, so I could do
Yeah. Right. Get me a Mai
Get a
Tai.
puppy.
Stat.
Yeah,
And a puppy. And you know,
he can have mine, but yeah,
That's a prison of
poor
its own
Maggie.
sort.
I'm in a
Julie?
prison of my own making here, my friend, with this puppy. But go
The thing is too, it's like I remember the Sidney Powell, like remember this just like absolute clown car of people in the aftermath in 2020, like release the Kraken. Like, I mean, it's just it's obviously this stuff is very, very serious. Okay. This is very serious. This is scary as hell. But like there is a part of me that is just like I cannot believe the most incompetent, unqualified. The fact that their incompetence actually is the only thing that brings me any amount of like, I don't know, calm. Is I was like, well, at least the people that are trying to implement this are really stupid, you know?
Well, I think it's really important, Michelle, is that what we need to concentrate on now is what are the things that we have to now guard against in future tense.
Right.
By talking about 2020 a lot, they're winning and making us talk past tense.
yeah,
Right.
So we won 2020, so it's over and that's that. So let's stop talking about that and let's worry about armed police at voting centers. Let's worry about our mails, for God's sakes. That's the thing that scares me perhaps the most. Let's worry about efforts they'll have to not certify elections. What are the signals that we got last night that tell us that we should have reporters constantly dogging these things in the future? And the future ain't far away.
yep.
And also Trump during his speech threatened to pull the licenses of the major networks that did not cover
Let's
the
go there.
speech. I have a clip of this as well.
In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about.
Anyways, and that's just the clip that I could get. But he goes on to say basically that they shouldn't have licenses, and you know all these people they write bad stories about me. The
Brendan
FCC,
Carr is his
Yeah.
attack dog
right,
and is
He does not-
already going after ABC's O&O licenses.
right.
And so, yeah, you can see it happening here.
Mhm. To which I'm like, ABC, maybe on day one, maybe we should not have bent the knee for something that you would have won outright, and instead paid him $15 million. Like again, like this is
And pull Jimmy Kimmel off the air.
yes, and like I know we all are, but like banging our heads against the wall, just being like from day one, begging people do not obey in advance. What is like the rule number one from Timothy Snyder's book? Do not obey, because all you are doing is laying the groundwork and creating permission structures for everybody else to do the same. And here we are. And not to say that this all wouldn't be happening, but it would be a whole lot harder. He's even said, oh, it's a lot easier for me this time around. No one really seems to be fighting back. He said it. And here we are.
Right, because they successfully got rid of anybody who would have been a guardrail. I was pleased that Nicole Wallace last night was arguing with Scaramucci, who was on the show, who was saying, basically accept the current nominees who were testifying in the Senate because they're better than what could happen instead. And Nicole was saying, no, this is unacceptable. No, we don't accept them. At the same time, you have Carr as the attack dog. Yesterday wrote a piece, which I sent to you, in which he's saying get rid of all ownership limitations on local TV, which means that Sinclair will be able to take over the nation. And the Foxification of local news will be complete. And so local TV news, which is the last trusted part of mass media, will be completely taken over as propaganda arms.
And, you know, what I want to say is that you have Donald Trump speaking to Jake Tapper in the wake of Lindsey Graham's death, and basically admitting that he's trying to take over CNN and send it in the right direction. I mean, I forgot the exact quote. I don't know if you have
I was looking for the clip. I couldn't.
Yeah,
find it,
but basically was something like, you know, we're working on, you know, making you, you know, I forgot how you put it, but basically working on making you do my bidding.
Yeah.
I mean, that is an extraordinary thing for somebody to admit. Could you imagine if Joe Biden or Barack Obama had done that?
Oh my God.
I mean, Fox would be running with this 24/7.
Release the Kraken. I mean, seriously. I mean, they would.
Yeah.
It's like whatever. I mean, the whole thing. Barack Obama, you know, used Dijon mustard, and it was like a whole week of stories. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so stupid, and you know, there's like this overcorrection that has just been, you know, to our demise. That, oh well, we don't want to be seen as the liberal media, so we have to be extra, you know. We have to be extra nice to the right and you know, more critical of the left, and like, well, it's led us to here. And
but also, you know, like I'm thinking about this as putting on my hat of somebody who's done elections, right, for a long time. The people who actually run the mechanics of elections, right? The county clerks, the volunteers, the poll watchers from both sides of the aisle, whose job it is to make sure that nothing irregular is happening. For the vast majority of them are volunteers, or they're getting paid some shitty day rate to do this, like nominal money, right? These are regular people. These are our neighbors. But without them, none of this would work. I mean, truly, like every time I go vote, Michelle, I know you do too in New York, and Jeff, I know you do in New Jersey too, right? There are all these people, usually older people, who are sitting behind the desk. One is a Republican poll watcher. One is a Democratic poll watcher.
Which is always so surprising to me. I'm like, there's a Republican in my district. Anyway,
but they have to, right? Like, and these, that's what I'm saying.
I know,
these people give up their entire day, and if it's early voting, they give up a much longer period of time. And they and they effectively, you know, they effectively do this. And these are the people who are going to be dragged through the mud. These are the people who are going to get death threats. These are the people who are going to be pressured from doing their work. So that the only people who are going to be doing this now are going to be crazy. Like, and by the way, this is not just a problem on the right. It's a problem on the left too, because Adam Smith, who is a longtime ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, Democrat, gave an interview, or no, put out a tweet yesterday where he basically said that because of his support for Israel, he voted against aid to Israel. Because of his support for Israel, his family was doxxed, his children were threatened, one of his staff members was assaulted. And he didn't say that he voted for this legislation because he was scared for his life, but the implication was that it's pretty terrifying. Friends, if this is the road we go down on both sides of the aisle here, and I don't want both sides of this shit because it's a bigger problem on the right, but it is seeping into the left now. If we are now making it terrifying for people to be public servants and to do their job, and if they are voting the way they're voting because they're physically afraid for their lives, or they're not going to do public service like these poll watchers because they're physically afraid for their lives, like those two poor women down in Georgia, if you remember, whose names I can't remember right now, those two African-American women who luckily got a huge settlement from Rudy. He's paid it by now, but like These are just normal people. This is a mom and a daughter who decided to do something for democracy. Like, they don't need to
Who
do
love
this.
their country.
Who
Who
love their
love
country. You're going to
their
make a lot more
country.
money working a shift at Starbucks than doing this, I guarantee you.
Yeah, yeah.
But they did it because they love their country. It is mind-numbing work. You sit there all day long checking people's names. I mean, it sucks.
Yeah, people are at the wrong place. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yes, Miss Ruby, thank you, and her daughter, whose name I just cannot remember at the moment, and I'm so sorry because I should. But like, we gotta stop. We gotta stop, and we gotta figure out our differences at the ballot box, and not at the point of a gun or a fist or a threat or making people feel like they can't be in public service. If you want to know why Tom Tillis might be supporting the Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, for a permanent role as the acting Attorney General, I promise you it is not because he thinks that Todd Blanche has done a great job or because he likes Donald Trump, because he's been very clear he does not. And the same thing goes for, John Cornyn in Texas, who just lost his primary because Donald Trump decided to endorse, the sexual assailant in his place. These people are not going to vote for Todd Blanche because they wanted to do a favor for Donald Trump or they think Todd Blanche has done a good job. I guarantee you they're voting for Todd Blanche because they're scared for their lives. They're scared that the mob is going to come after their families. They're both out of office. They have nothing left to lose. Their careers are over. They're not coming back. But if they vote, it is because they're scared. And I cannot tell you, because I had a conversation about this with actually two separate conversations over the last year with two members of Congress, one current, one former, who said that a lot of their Republican colleagues have confided in them that the reason that they vote the way they vote is because they're scared for their families. Now, my attitude is you can leave Congress and not be scared for your family anymore, but I guess giving up power is just too much to bear. But that's where we are. And when I hear somebody like Adam Smith on the Democratic side basically saying the same thing, don't do it.
I remember friend of the show, Senator Andy Kim of New Jersey, coming on the anniversary of January 6th, talking about how he doesn't go to political events anymore with his family. Like, he doesn't bring his kids anymore because he thinks it's too dangerous for them. They don't travel together, like, to go places. They take different cars. Like, that's where we are. And listen, Amy Coney Barrett, I think, is a reprehensible person for the things that she stands for and the things that she votes for and against. But she testified along with Justice Kagan just the other day and said similarly that when she was, receiving threats, that, I think it was the member of the security or whatever it was that protects her, she had to wear a bulletproof vest and then explain to her son, like, why
the guns that mommy is allowing in all hands are dangerous to us too.
Right. And, and I think that that's where the anger comes from people being like, well, yes, we want to settle our differences at the ballot box, but they're rigging the system so that we can't. And I think like that's where the anger is coming from and the frustration. It's like, and not to say that, and I'm never excusing or thinking that violence is okay. It certainly is not. But I do understand where the anger and the frustration and the hopelessness is coming for people, because they're like, we don't see a way out of this because the system is rigged against us.
I almost hesitate to go to this because it's a punchline, but I think it's actually related. Is Hegseth wanting to test everyone in the armed services for their testosterone level, which is really about thinking that masculinity finds its truest outlet in fear, in violence, and in making others be fearful. That's part of what we're seeing here is this larger, it's not just white nationalism, it's not just Christian nationalism, it's male nationalism here. And I think that it's compensation for, as I said on the socials, for his Thumbelina dick and his fear of femininity.
How do you know, Jeff?
Yeah.
Just a hunch. I mean, I've hung out with him, but I can't make that kind of assertion. Like,
and on that
luckily
note,
for me, but go ahead.
Did you see that he okayed that flyby? Because the Blue Angels do the thing every year in Pensacola or on the water there. They did this flyby, the Navy, that was literally so low to the ground and so loud. It was way over a decibel that a human being should be exposed to. Little children are grabbing their ears and crying.
It
It's
blew over
so,
umbrellas on a beach.
so dangerous.
Yes.
So dangerous. And then of course there's all this anger, and because there's a lot of video and that was being posted, and he was like, the flyovers will continue until morale improves. And I'm just like, you're such a loser.
But let me just say this, you guys, because I wrote a column about this. Like, I know we're like Pete Hegseth is a clown, and I know that Pete Hegseth is a joke, but the reality is that Pete Hegseth is in charge of the military, and the military in the modern era, at least since the 1940s, has been the canary in the coal mine for the rest of society. They integrated well before the rest of society did, right? Like when Jim Crow was still happening, the military under Harry Truman integrated. They don't ask, don't tell, as awful and as imperfect as that policy was still a step in the right direction when society was still not accepting gay people, right? They accepted trans people in the military well before the rest of society accepted trans people, because I would argue society still doesn't accept trans people, right? And on both sides of the aisle. So the military has always been, even imperfectly, ahead of the curve.
I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah, what he is doing now is also making sure that the military is going to be the canary in the coal mine in the opposite direction.
Ahead of a different curve.
In a different direction. And I want people to understand how dangerous that is. And Claude, you're saying he's just there to say, yes, sir. No, he's not. I know Pete. No, he's not. Pete Hegseth is living his best life. Pete Hegseth had that Crusader cross on his chest well before Donald Trump ever graced his consciousness. Pete Hegseth truly, and I mean truly, believes the following. Women are not equal to men, despite the fact that his wife was and continues to be a much more successful person than he ever was. She was his boss at Fox News, just so you know. She was very high up.
Sorry, which wife is this? This is the third one or the second?
Jen Roche, wife number 3, the one that he got pregnant while married to wife number 2.
Yeah, I thought so.
And then cheated on with, or some might say raped, while she was pregnant with their son or daughter. Yes. So, Pete is a white nationalist. Pete is a misogynist. Pete believes in the Crusader creed. And I went on Piers Morgan's show once to talk about this, and I cannot tell you, because I did not know how many Crusader stands there are out there, but there is a whole subculture of Pete Hegseth Crusader obsessives who started arguing with me, and I'm not kidding you, that the Crusades were just and righteous, and that no Jews were killed in the Crusades. I guess they forgot about what was going on in Germany on the way to the Crusades. They forgot about how Jews were locked up in a Jerusalem synagogue and incinerated during the Crusades. The Muslims are like, well, okay, the Muslims, but they took over the Holy Land, and what did you expect? We needed to bring the kingdom of heaven about. This is the antecedent to the evangelical movement. In the 12th century, it was bringing about the kingdom of heaven in Jerusalem. And for about 100 years, there was a kingdom of heaven in Jerusalem, and the Crusaders ran it. And sadly, I know more about this than I should. But I say all of this to say that nothing has changed in the last 1,000 years. And Pete Hegseth is just the most recent iteration of this. And it would be fine if he were still mouthing off on Fox News, but he's not mouthing off on Fox News. He's now running the one institution that has always been the canary in the coal mine for a larger society at large. And that is something I want people to think about. It's not
hard enough to get our heads around the idea that the Civil War didn't end. The frickin' Crusades didn't end.
The Crusades did not end.
And we've a military that backs up the insurrection next time. The insurrection that may happen not at the Capitol, but at the voting booth is something to be very frightened of and very much alarmed about. And I was thinking, my friend Craig Newmark is a big backer of veterans' rights and helps them. And he and I are both of the same age and the same generation, where we didn't treat soldiers coming back from Vietnam well. The soldiers who were drafted and made to fight that war that was an unjust war.
Working class boys.
Right.
Forced.
And so I think that our, in a way, we overcompensated in America for the behavior of my generation to the military, where we now constantly praise and thank the military at the soldier level. But we forget that it's the level above where the danger occurs, where the risk is. That our soldiers are right now are in harm's way in bases around the Middle East because of the idiots above. So we can still support the soldiers and do, or the war fighters, as they like to call them now. But the decisions made above in Venezuela, in the Caribbean, in the Middle East are what's unfair to those soldiers. And those same soldiers could be ordered to do things against democracy in this country. We damn near saw them into the streets during the ICE debacles. So our relationship with the military is fraught with baggage. And I'm afraid that, finally, to your point, Julie, I'm afraid that we're not enough on guard against the military because we're now so trained to never criticize the military because we criticized the wrong level of the military in the past.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Definitely.
We also have a very unique situation here in the United States that we have an all-volunteer military, which a lot of other countries don't have. And so it's also like seeing the choice that someone makes, to serve one's country and to really give up some basic fundamental rights as an American. When you sign on that line. I mean, my sister-in-law, Jacqueline Urso, who's, a friend of this network, talks about it and has talked about it at length privately to me, especially as a woman. And I'd argue a lot of our soldiers and members of the military are not safe at home on our own bases here, stateside. And, Becca Ballant, Congresswoman from Vermont, talked about this. Did you guys see this clip? Because I'm going to play this because I think it's pretty good. I mean, obviously this stuff is very serious and she is being very serious, but there is another element to this that is.
But I think is indicative of the fact that there are so many people in this administration that have some weird, like, intense homoerotic feelings towards men while also being incredibly homophobic, and not just homophobic, but like hate mongering, fear mongering about the LGBTQ community. So let me be clear. I don't think the homoeroticism is the weird part. The weird part is that they pretend that that's not what it's about. And so Pete Hegseth is like the example of this, like the manly, rugged, macho man. And it's like, I don't know if you know who Tom of Finland is. Tom of Finland, okay? This is gay male porn that was drawn by a man. And like Pete Hegseth is the embodiment of that. So I feel like they must be looking at that as like their example for what men look like. And in terms of like not promoting women, like we know what this is all about. The military, whether you support the military industrial complex or not, it has always been merit-based. The people who are the best of the best rise to the top. And so the fact that he has systematically been keeping down women and people of color gives up the whole game. It's actually not about a merit-based system anymore.
Amen.
She's so fantastic.
While we're on sexual politics, I want to make sure we get in, Julie, a certain op-ed in the New York Times, because we need to make sure that people know to go looking for it, because it may not be promoted as much as it should be.
Yes. So thank you for mentioning that, Jeff. So my colleague, Gretchen Carlson, so my colleague is Michelle Kinney, but my colleague at my nonprofit, Lift Our Voices, Gretchen Carlson, who along with me sued Fox News and Roger Ailes for sexual misconduct and retaliation. She sued Ailes, I sued Fox News because of different contractual issues. Has an op-ed because it's been 10 years since she filed her lawsuit. And I would argue kicked off this iteration of the Me Too movement. It was about 18 months before Weinstein. And it was, she was the first to jump off that cliff at a very lonely time. And then I went about 10 months after she did, but she laid the groundwork. She has an op-ed in the New York Times because, as we talked about before on the show, the New York Times has consistently published content talking about how the Me Too movement is over and it's not, it backfired and it's awful and it's terrible. So we had to sit down with the New York Times about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and we brought along with us 4 or 5 or 6 women who really contributed to changing the world with respect to Me Too in the last decade, including Zelda Perkins, who the New York Times had no problem featuring as the first Weinstein whistleblower. She's kind of the hero of the she said, or whatever that he said, whatever it was. Her, Katie Brennan, who changed laws in New Jersey as a result of Phil Murphy trying to keep her quiet and me quiet, and so many others. And we brought, I would say about 6 other women with us. And we basically said, listen, New York Times editorial board, like, this is bullshit. And after lots of back and forth, they agreed to accept an op-ed from us. And so Gretchen bylined it, but it's about all the work that has been going on in the last 10 years with the Me Too movement. I do want to mention something that's going to piss people off, because it really pissed people off when I wrote about it in a note in Substack. These laws would not have existed if not for Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham was an awful human being. He sold his soul. We don't need to reiterate and relitigate all the horrible things he did with women, whether abortion or Supreme Court justices or all the anti-LGBTQ stuff, all the horrible stuff that he did. But on this very particular issue, with respect to silencing mechanisms in the workplace, Lindsey Graham and Kirsten Gillibrand teamed up and they got this done. And I truly don't know what we're going to do now that he's dead, because at the time that he died, we're working to extend those protections to age discrimination, which anybody over 40, that's you. So it is a loss. And it is a loss for at least the issues that we were working on with my nonprofit. But nevertheless, please go.
And Ukraine. There are a few exceptions in his.
Yes, there are a few exceptions. There's actually horrible record.
Yes.
So anyway, that's where we are. And I will put this op-ed in the chat for folks. If you want to come at me about Lindsey Graham again, you're more than welcome to. You're going to be a dipshit if you do, because I'm never going to stop saying that on this particular issue, he was good. It doesn't mean he was a good human being. And I don't want to hear your shit. I don't want to hear about how I'm balanced. I get it. I know. I agree. I'm just simply saying what I'm saying about this particular issue. So I'm going to put this op-ed in here because the Times did run it, but they did not run it in the newspaper section, in the hard copy section of the op-ed section. I keep saying section, it's not
a gifted link.
You used to call it a newspaper. You unfolded it and it had stuff inside of it.
Yes, and the physical in the hard copy.
Made your fingers black. Yeah, it was an amazing thing.
Yeah. And just so people are aware, Julie dropped the link just now, but if you scroll up a couple more, I put a link so that you can read it for free. If you don't have a New York Times subscription, I'll drop it again here. So
yeah, sorry.
So it's a really good op-ed, and I recommend reading it. And no, the Times has been wrong. Me Too is not dead. Me Too is a fight that's ongoing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to raise one more thing, if I may.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Please.
is the again amusing but appalling Truth Social wanting to sell early access to Trump's whatever you call them, rants, and people will make real money on that. We don't know what the price will be. We don't know what the delay will be for the rest of us to read the words of the putative president of the United States. But there's a media angle here too, because that means that things are being withheld from the public as a whole, A. B, I fear some crazy media operations will spend the money because they're going to say, we're going to beat everybody else because we get the scoop on Trump.
Mm-hmm.
It's grift. I think that this probably comes from the teleprompter operator who was betting on Kelce, and Trump probably said, I want that for me.
Yeah,
I can make a lot more money than $100,000 at this.
Look at the stock trades that they're doing a matter of minutes before they drop bombs on countries. I mean, this is part of what they do. It's market manipulation, it's insider trading, it's rigging the system in every which way possible to benefit themselves, because they don't give a shit about anybody else or anything else other than getting rich and being powerful. That's it.
It says everything about our information ecosystem today. We think we live in a time of more possible openness, and we do, but any way that these folks can close it down and find privilege and corruption in it, they will.
Yep.
And so it's brazen. It's right out there for all of us to see. It's a punchline. It's funny because it's so ridiculous, but this is serious shit.
Yeah.
This is where I cannot for the life of me understand how his people and the people who support him, and I'm like, you all are struggling to put a roof over your head, to put food on your tables, and you're watching this guy rig the system to benefit himself and his family and take money out of your pocket. And here you are. I mean, it's a cult. It's a cult. Yes. Anybody who sees this information, I mean, cognitive dissonance be damned. It's a cult, because this man and this family and this administration, it is fundamental, not only just to their policies, but to who they are as human beings, to steal from the poor and give to the rich. That's who they are. And I don't understand, how we continue to be okay with this. Not just them, but the tech overlords and everything else. I mean, Julie and I were out, we had drinks with our friend Nina the other night. We were talking about this and like just how tech, what's their end goal? Just to get rid of all of us plebes so that they can take over, have all the money, all the power, and they can repopulate the world.
I want to talk about one other thing, you guys, before we go. And I wrote about this today, but it's not really about what I wrote. It's about the fact that nobody else is writing about it. There has been a lot of ink spilled on what's happening in Gaza, right? With a lot of people calling it genocide, a lot of arguments about that. It seems like the price of admission right now to any left debate on the left is you have to acknowledge that Israel committed genocide in Gaza. And there's a lot of angst about this. And I respect and honor people who are very passionate about this. However, there is a genocide happening in Darfur right now that is being funded by the United Arab Emirates with American weapons and European weapons. And it is irrefutable that those weapons have been sold to the UAE and have found their way into Darfur, where the people who are committing mass genocide are using them. At the same time, I don't know about you guys, but my son and everybody else's kid is wearing Emirates or Etihad jerseys because they sponsor so many soccer players. The NBA just signed a multi-million-dollar deal with the UAE so that they're now playing in Abu Dhabi, these exhibition games, and you have NBA players going over there. And the biggest exhibition game was last year a couple of years ago between the Knicks and the 76ers. So they're Jalen Brunson sports washing their genocidal things. The guy who single-handedly overturned the red card for the United States at the World Cup a few weeks ago is from the UAE. He did not consult anybody. He did it after Donald Trump asked for it. And of course, American weapons are going to the UAE to continue genociding people in Darfur. I found it fascinating that I wrote this op-ed, that I wrote this column. And there are people in the chat who are like, but Gaza, or just hasn't gotten any play. And in fact, it's gotten probably less play than anything else I've ever written. Friends, think about that.
That's an algorithm. That's an algorithm.
I don't think it's an algorithm. I think, but it's not just algorithm. It's also a subscriber bias. Friends, think about why you care about one, but not the other.
Is the World Cup still going on, by the way?
The
I need a big shot of testosterone because I don't know jack about sports.
like,
but even I know the finals on Sunday.
Well, and I want to say this, and I want to say this because the way they're doing this is they're putting Emirates on everybody's shirt. Zora Mandani wore an Emirates. I don't even know what they're called, but to some to a Muslim, I think to an Eid dinner or something, a custom made Emirates. And I'm so sorry because I don't know what the outfit is for men who wear these wear this traditional outfit to eat dinners. But he wore it and it said Emirates across the chest. This is not to say that Zohar Mamdani supports genocide. I don't think he does, but this is how billions of dollars in sports washing and algorithm influence allows our politicians, our NBA stars, our soccer players, the World Cup, our children to be laundering the reputation of people who are committing genocide against, I would say, Black people in Darfur.
Yeah.
Since everybody keeps talking about white, occupation and so on, Black people in Darfur. I think this is a story that the media has not covered, and I have to wonder why the media hasn't covered it. I wonder why it has to be me who has to write a 2,000-word story about this. But all the ink that's been spilled on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which again, I'm not diminishing or saying there are not war crimes being committed there by the Israelis 24/7. There are. But I can only imagine that if Chuck Schumer went to a Passover or Yom Kippur breakfast wearing a massive Star of David, the way that Mamdani went to an Eid thing wearing a massive Emirates thing, or wearing, whatever the Israeli basketball team is. I think they're Maccabi something or other. Like, I could only imagine.
Israelis have a basketball team?
Yeah, I think they play basketball. I can only imagine.
I've found my place here.
Yeah.
I don't know jack about sports.
I can only imagine the reaction.
Listen, I mean, the whole thing. I mean, my husband loves soccer. I mean, I've gone I've talked for a very long time, for many, many, many times, why, all these human rights and corruption abuses make me turn off, like going from the concussion crisis of the NFL to what's going on here. Like, it sucks the fun out of everything. But including them trying to have a pride game at this last World Cup. And who played in this unofficial pride match was Iran and Egypt were the two teams that played the pride game. And these are two countries that you can't even be gay there. So, you know what I mean?
Egypt just turned back a gay cruise ship.
What a time, truly. I mean, it's just to the sports washing of what Julie's talking about. Yeah, I mean, and look, Russia is going to be able to compete as Russia in the next Olympics.
Yeah, which is appalling. Which I don't.
Speaking of genocide and speaking of what's happening in Eastern Ukraine, now that is a genocide. Now, when I mention that, people tell me all I do is care about white people, so I will point you to Darfur. Yeah. But again, why aren't we protesting the Olympics?
Yes.
When I saw that, oh my God, my soul left my body. I was like, I can't believe that. But of course that's going to happen because the Olympics are in the United States, just like what the World Cup was. And just last year, Donald Trump sat in the Oval Office telling the whole press pool that, holding up a picture of himself and Vladimir Putin saying what a nice guy he was. And maybe he'll be here and maybe it'll be great. And we'll have to see. If you think that, I'm sure Vladimir Putin will be here for the Olympics. If they're re-entering the Olympics with their own flag for the first time in however many years now, how many times have they been kicked out or not, either for cheating or now for,
Well, in 1980 it was over Afghanistan. So
right. It's just, but here we are.
it happened in Moscow, but the United States did not participate because of Afghanistan.
Right.
Listen, I'm going to just say something here. Right? If we're talking about divesting or boycotting or sanctioning or whatever else, I'm going to name some names here. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, JP Morgan Chase. I can go on. All have major presence major presence in the UAE.
Mm-hmm.
Don't shop at Amazon if you don't want a genocide funded. Don't bank at your Chase branch. Don't go on Google. Don't use Microsoft products. But of course, they're ingrained in us.
Yeah, they're part of our everyday.
They're part of our everyday.
And the point is to try to get those companies to change.
Yeah.
One way or another. But
in
but there's no
March-
pressure. There's no pressure to now. There's no cover.
There's been a lot of coverage of this defunding Israel vote a couple days ago. Well, in March, Chris Van Hollen reintroduced legislation prohibiting broader arms sales to the Emirates, not defunding. We don't really give it to the Emirates, but to ban broader arms sales to the Emirates. He's tried since then repeatedly to force action against specific UAE weapons transfers. The legislation has not passed. One of the sponsors of that legislation is Bernie Sanders. When was the last time you heard Bernie Sanders mention this particular genocide on the campaign trail, other than putting his name to this legislation?
There are a few politicians that eyes roll back into my head more so than Bernadette Sanders. I've had enough.
On the socials, it's been very interesting watching. I've watched some Black influencers about Bernie Sanders after Graham Plattner, saying, "We tried to tell you.
Yep.
We've been trying to tell you."
Abby Henning, retweet.
And not just Black influencers, women. Like
yes.
the two women on the screen with you right now, from day one, we tried to tell you. And the answer and the crazy hate that we got.
And by the way, my former employer, from what I am being told, has been out front saying that Democrats made a huge mistake, that Graham Plattner should never have been kicked out, or he never should have been. Like, we just all need to deal with it and win. Bunch of white guys, per usual, former Republicans. Nuts. But again, it's always the women and the people of color. Right. It's the people of color and the women who are out here in front saying, "We told you so, we told you so, we told you so, we told you so." I'd much rather be wrong, miserable and wrong, and we're in a corner. Like, please prove me wrong. But I rarely are here. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
About that stuff, at least.
And again, we agree. Well, at least I'll speak for myself. I agree with Bernie on a lot of his
absolutely
policy prescriptions. Medicare for all, count me in, holding the Elon Musks and other billionaires accountable, all of it. He was right. And he was also right that Obama and Clinton and so on were much more incremental in their approach. And Trump comes in with his maximalist demands and gets shit done. And so for anybody who says, well, we can't really get stuff done, like, Trump wouldn't have let that stand in his way, and Democrats shouldn't either. So I agree with Bernie on that. However, it took him 24 hours after everybody else to call on Plattner to step down. And they're making the same mistake in Michigan, friends. We have something coming out next week. They're making the same mistake in Michigan right now.
Where's the polling? What is that?
Depending on who you believe, but I think he's down. I'll say he's down a few points, but who knows?
And I just need to address this. There are a couple of people who have asked, who I'm being told, because I do not consume content over on that channel. I'm just being very transparent. I have been told by many sources. And if anybody wants to defend anybody over there, that's your business, but this is not the channel for you. Just gonna say, I have very strong feelings. And so from what I've been told, there has been a defense of Graham Plattner in that lane. So that's all I'm going to say. Leave it there.
Okay. So, like, listen to people who you claim to want to help. The disenfranchised people in society today are people of color, women, and they're telling you that Graham Plattner was bullshit from day one. Don't listen to 27-year-old white Nepo baby Morris Katz. Don't listen to Bernie Sanders from the most white. Do you know that Vermont is the whitest state in the nation, if I'm not mistaken? Like,
more so than Montana?
Yeah.
Or like a Dakota? Which we have two, but here we are.
Yeah. So just think about that. Just think about that. And I think about the fact that when you're agitating about one genocide, think about what's happening to Black people. Think about what's happening to women and children in Ukraine. Yes, they're white. I'm so sorry. They're also getting raped, kidnapped into Russia. Their bodies sent back, so mutilated that there is I'm going to be really gross right now, vaginal reconstructive surgeries being pioneered in Ukraine.
Yeah. Ken Harbaugh has reported it.
Yes. Yeah. Think about that. Think about how damaged you have to be for you to have vaginal reconstructive surgery.
At a mass scale.
At a mass scale. And they do not differentiate.
And it's not just women, it's children too.
Yeah. They don't give a shit. Now that is a genocide. They don't differentiate. They just go in and do it.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, and thanks to Ken Harbaugh for the incredible reporting that he's doing out of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Very brave to go over there and to be speaking to people.
Yeah.
It's incredible stuff.
I stand corrected. Ask ONA. Maine is the whitest state in the United States with a population of approximately 94.3. It is closely followed by Vermont, 94.2. Okay, so I was off by 1/10 of a point. Sorry about that. Nevertheless, Vermont is among the whitest places in the nation. The Dakotas, I think, probably have.
But Michelle, you're not wrong too. Montana has the lowest Black population.
Right.
Okay, well, in the vicinity. There we go.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, it's just awful. It is not right. And I just want some consistency. I want it out of the press. I want it out of consumers of the media. And I want people to understand that sometimes you get agitated because things are in your algorithm, and the UAE has gone even further than that. They have bought up all of the institutions that we love, which is why you have people like my 14-year-old as a walking billboard for the United Arab Emirates by walking around with an Emirates jersey because they sponsor some football club that he loves. Right?
Soft power.
Or Etihad or any of that.
Soft power.
It is what we used to do with Mickey Mouse back in the post-war era. They've learned from us. Except we were largely a force for good back then. Not anymore, but we were back then. I wouldn't suggest we didn't make mistakes, but largely, we wanted to export democracy. These people want to export a lot of bad stuff. They're exporting a genocide of Black people in Darfur right now. You might wonder why, by the way. Why does the United Arab Emirates care so much about this? Well, it is because they have a insane need for natural resources, and the UAE wants control of that, and that's what this war promises to deliver for them. Just so you know. So it's just it's gross. It's gross. So just wanted to mention that because I think it's not enough attention has been paid to Darfur, which has been going on for a very, 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 very
long time.
And the other thing that's happening in our name is the deaths from the Doge killing of USAID.
Oh my God! Yeah,
is approaching a level of genocide in its own way. Poor people in what Trump would call shithole countries in the world. That's occurring too, and that census isn't being taken sufficiently.
Yeah. And even just the mention of that, Elon Musk flew off the handle, being like, "How dare you? That's not true." And yes, it is. My friend, my non-friend. I don't know why they're so triggered by that information. It seems like something that they would want to be a part of. Maybe it's just it's not brand safe for him for that information to be out there.
Since I haven't done Broken Times in a while, Broken Post, let's one more real quick. Back to our first topic, which was his speech last night. The Times headline, I think if I get this in the right order, Trump promised proof of election tampering. His document release fell far short. Post, Trump's speech stopped short of offering evidence of vote tampering. He lied.
Yeah, he lied.
He lied. Say it.
Not hard to say. Not hard to say.
Hmm.
Donald Trump suggests blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Again, framing it in a way, just like the visual of having cuckoo pants out on the lawn of the White House with the nice lighting. It lulls people into trust and
It's the
belief.
episode of Cuckoo Pants and Thumbelina Dick.
Mhm.
Tune in on Fridays. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. These people have issues that had they, I don't know if their parents didn't treat them well or some therapy session went awry.
All the above.
Or Michelle's theory, which is that they should have gone into theater, but instead ended up running the world.
Some of
Yeah.
them. Yeah. Like Stephen Miller, for sure. Pete Hegseth, 1,000%. Yeah. Elon Musk, I don't think that he would have
No, he couldn't.
He wouldn't have gelled with the theater kids. I mean, they would have been like, get out of here, weirdo. But I think the rest of them really could have benefited from Carousel or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just
Carousel.
Something. Oklahoma. They would have been like, oh, Judd, like empathy things. Anyways, just saying. Instead, they were like number 3 or not allowed, or they were called a sissy or something like that. It's just in here.
Well, that's why they all kind of wanted to become celebrities, right? Pete at Fox and
Really?
Trump 24/7. All of these people.
Think about, and we're going to go, but think about how much Donald Trump loves theater. He loves theater. He wants to be Evita. He wants to be Phantom of the Opera. He think about Donald
Cats.
Trump.
He likes cats. Nobody likes cats. Cats sucks.
Cats the worst show I've ever seen.
Cats is the worst thing I've ever seen ever. And when I remember I used to say this. Remember that tagline, "Cats now and forever." David Letterman. Remember David Letterman's top 10 that he used to do?
Yeah, of course.
The best top 10 he ever did was the thing you think about a millisecond before you fall asleep, like the thing that goes through your head, like right before you fall asleep. And number 1 was, what if Cats really is now and forever?
It is. And I remember my friend, I did not buy a ticket, but our friend gave us tickets to the revival of Cats.
Oh, the Jellicle Ball?
No, not the Jellicle Ball, the revival of Cats that happened a few years prior. And we were in the second act and there's more cats. And my husband looks at me and he goes, what is this show about? I was like, don't know. I think just some cats just chilling, dancing in the alley. And Donald Trump loves it. As much as he doesn't like animals, he loves cats and he wants to be in it, singing, dancing in a unitard. And Roger Ailes used to take tap dance lessons. He produced theater. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, let me tell you something about Roger Ailes. And I heard this straight from the horse's mouth. And this I don't think is violating my NDA. First of all, Roger Ailes is a producer of Broadway shows, just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
He put the 5 together, he told me, which is the number 1 show of Fox now, like a Broadway show. You had the leading man, which at that point was Eric Bolling. You had the girl next door, who was Dana Perino. You had the clown, which was Craig Gutfeld. You had the hottie in the leg chair, which was Kimberly Guilfoyle. Yeah. And then when he first started the show, which he said to me, he goes, and this is when I was trying to, well, now I'm probably violating my NDA, but this is when I was, trying to make permanent what they were making dangling over my head, which is filling Bob Beckel's shoes after he had a horrible situation and had to leave as the Democrat. He said, and then there's Beckel. That's very good. It'd be very hard to replace. He was my Falstaff. That's how you called him.
Listen,
and I don't know, Julie. I mean, I don't know if you could be my Falstaff, but when basically there's the villain. You could be the villain. And I was like, I obviously am your villain. And then he said a bunch of other things that I cannot say about how that was going to manifest itself. But the point is, everybody had a role. And his whole point was, I can kick any one of you out and put another one in. I can go out on 6th Avenue and find 5 people in 5 minutes.
Get you a dye job. And
to replace any one of you, which is why it's called the 5. Not because it's 5 people at 5 o'clock, but because you go out on 6th Avenue and in 5 minutes find 5 people to fill that role. because it's the template.
It's the cast of Grease. It's
Yeah.
Sandy, it's Danny, it's Kinney, it's Cha-Cha DiGregorio, the greatest dancer at St. Bernadette's.
At St. Bernadette's, the best dancer at St. Bernadette's.
And it's Duty. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, and this is again, and I'm talking about the on the left, the ones who are like really doing bad stuff with the Grand
Wait,
Platinum.
who's the villain? Is it Kinney?
Well, probably, maybe.
Because a hickey from Kinney, oof, like a mark of prestige. But yeah,
which, by the way, Grease is based on real characters and real people in real life. One of my best friends did the R-rated version of Grease in Chicago about 10 years ago with the creator of the show, and he who grew up and went to a high school right outside of Chicago, and he told all the real stories of Rizzo and all the people and all the things that really happened, and it's actually extremely disturbing. What they did to Cha-Cha DiGregorio, you guys don't want to know. But
I do want to know. We have to do a whole separate show here.
Yeah, the Pink Ladies basically took her and held her down and let people do things to her. Like, this happened in real. Like, I'm telling you, like all of these people were real. So this version of Grease that we all love, and have watched 1,000 times on TNT, is a very, 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 very watered down version of what actually happened. My friend actually played Rizzo in that production. So she has all the stories, but
oh my God. So now I can't even be like the best, the best dancer of St. Bernadette's. I can't like,
well, you can just pretend that you didn't hear what I said, but and I this happens on the left too. I mean, Morris Katz, right? Who's this like total jackass, who's responsible for the Grand Platinum situation and all this. Who should have been a casting director. He should have been a casting director. Just watching him interact, like I'm like this.
Trump always talks about central casting. He casts everything. He casts his cabinet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right.
Okay.
The word. Anyways.
I love Grease so much. I'm going to go drive to Pennsylvania now, and I'm going to listen to the Grease soundtrack the whole way.
I was in Grease. I did a production of Grease. I hate Grease.
Why? I love Grease. Why do you hate Grease?
Be in a production of Grease to the extent that
sign me up. I mean, if I have like a good role.
I played Jan, and
which one was Jan? The one who's like the preppy one? Oh no, the one with the bugs, the one with the yeah,
like the little chunky one. But
it's not chunky, by the way, but yeah.
No. Yeah. But it's one of those shows. Once you do it, you're like, I'm good. I don't ever need to do that again. But anyways, it's Friday and Grease is the word. And Frankie Valli wrote the theme song for the movie. Yes, he did. Who is my friend's grandfather, which is a whole nother story, which I will tell for another day. Yeah, my friend Olivia Valli, who was Alphaba and Wicked and all these other things. So anyways, and played her own grandmother in Jersey Boys off Broadway.
Is Frankie Valli still alive? Is he still with us?
Yeah, he's still doing shows, girl.
He is.
He's like, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
wow,
92 years old.
Rosie.
Yeah, that's Jan. That's Jan. All right.
Well, I'm going to go sing to the Grease soundtrack the whole way there.
I'll be standing by the 78.
Why don't you drive over to 78 and I'll be, right past you. I'll be like, Grease is the word that you heard. Yes. And then I will listen to my favorite Andrew Lloyd Webber soundtrack.
Not Cats.
It is not Cats. It is not Phantom. It is not Les Mis.
It's Jesus.
It is not Jesus Christ Superstar. It is Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which I love. I love. You did? Who'd you play? There are no women in Joseph.
I was just in
the narrator.
I was in the ensemble. It was like nothing.
Okay.
But the Les Mis was not written by Andrew Lloyd Webber, right?
What was it?
Les Mis.
Les Mis.
Oh, was it? It's not Andrew Lloyd Webber? Oh, I didn't know that. Did he do Miss Saigon?
No. Same director though. I think which like help.
Did not like Miss Saigon.
Yeah, no, he did not do Miss Saigon.
No.
Alain Bobile and Claude Michel Schoenberg.
I didn't know that he didn't do Les Mis. I thought Les Mis was like,
Nope.
Okay.
That's the Cameron McIntosh world. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna go now. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And thanks for joining us at the Mayday Network. If you're watching us on Substack, we hope that you'll subscribe. We hope that you'll join the Mayday fam. If you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like this video down below and subscribe. It helps us immensely. And we're just so glad you're here. And everybody take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful weekend. Julie and I will be back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern for Saturdays for Sanity, with maybe Dana and Lawrence. We're not sure what combination of people will be here tomorrow, but we will be here with you and breathing in all the smoke from Canada. So everyone,
Thank you for sending it our way, Canadian friends.
Yeah.
We deserve it, Canada. We deserve it.
Really
It looks, yeah, we do deserve it. So you're punishing us for how we're
I know.
treating you, and believe me, we're suffering.
Yeah, it
So
looks like
I hope
Blade
I hope that gives you comfort.
Yeah,
Okay,
it looks like Blade Runner out my window. All right. See you all later.
bye
Bye-bye.
everybody.